Then you realize it wouldn't be that funny. Why do we all stop if we have 1 minute?
Thank you very much, and welcome to our second half of the history of jazz, that you can see in the front of the program, History of Jazz through Big Band, from bebop to contemporary is where we're picking it up this time. Last time we started with the earliest origins and took it through and did do one portion of the piece, Cherokee, to kind of demonstrate where bebop was going. So we're gonna start with Cherokee this time. For those of you that weren't here last semester for our concert, here's just a quick overview. The beginning of jazz dates back to the 19th century. New Orleans is Congress Square, a little before 1820, became a gathering place for African Americans from a wide assortment of countries and influences, each introducing a part of their nation's unique sound to the mix. They would basically get together on Sundays and make music. And those influences were blues, ragtime, and marching bands. And those sort of combined together into what we now call jazz. From New Orleans, jazz spread through basically the Mississippi River, going up to Memphis, St. Louis, Chicago, and then heading on the rails east and west, west to San Francisco, and of course east to New York City. Also, it started out as small combos of musicians, developed into larger ensembles, culminating in the big bands of the swing era in the 1930s and 40s. These bands had upwards of 16 and sometimes more players, often with vocal ensembles or soloists that went along with it. So we're going to start where we left off with Cherokee, written by the British composer and band leader Ray Noble, and it was published in 1938, sort of the beginning of swing era. It utilizes some of the most commonly used chords in jazz, but more importantly, it's in two sections, an A section and a B section. The B section used multiple what we call 2-5-1 chord progressions. The 2-5-1 would be, if let's say we're in the key of C, the first note of the scale is C, so that's 1. 2 would be D, so it would be a chord built on D would be the 2. The 5 would be G, a chord built on G. And then that would take you then back to C, 1. So that's what that 2-5-1 is all about. But it could also be used to move through a lot of different keys by the way you handle those. And it was in the B section of Cherokee, and it was something that the improvisers at the time really had a hard time with. So it wasn't something they were comfortable with. But beboppers, especially Charlie Parker, were intrigued by it. And Cherokee sort of became their anthem, if you will, especially that B section, for the early bebop movement. In fact, Parker learned the tune in 12 keys as a training exercise to improve his understanding of chord structure and more specifically usage of higher notes within the chords. So let's say a C chord would be C, E, G, the seventh would be B flat. Well, but then it can keep going. So that would be just like a regular 7th chord. But then there's also a 9th, which would be D, an 11th, a 13th, and you can just keep going. So since the bass is usually on the root, keyboard players usually stay off the root and start using some of those chordal notes above it. And what beboppers started doing was using melodies and improvising in that upper part of that chord. So I hope I haven't put you to sleep yet with that theory lesson. But so anyway, in Cherokee here that we're going to play, Jacob Brown is back to help us out. He's graduated in December, but he'll be playing the tenor sax solos in this. Cherokee. There we go. So bebop developed in the early to mid 1940s in the United States as a younger generation of jazz musicians wanted to expand the creative possibilities of jazz beyond the dance music of the swing era to a style considered to be musicians' music, so more an intellectual thing. It was not intended to be danceable, but did demand close listening, a more intellectual look at jazz. So bebop musicians explored advanced harmonies, complex syncopation, altering and extending chords, a little bit about what I just mentioned, and chord substitutions, which I won't get into, way too boring. The big bebop groups used rhythm sections in a new, more expanded way, where the group was a small combo with a few soloists, and so that rhythm section became a lot more important. And they would typically play what's called a head tune, which would be the soloist or a group of players that would play the melody, basically. And then it would open up to improvisation, and each person would get a chance at going through key changes. And then it would come back and finish out with the head. So you can see that that was what I meant by the rhythm section became a lot more important because they were really that seed that kept everything moving. Some of the most influential bebop artists included Charlie Parker and Sonny Stitt on alto sax, Dexter Gordon and Sonny Rollins on tenor sax, trumpeters Miles Davis, Benny Harris, and of course Dizzy Gillespie, pianist Bud Powell and Thelonious Monk, J.J. Johnson on trombone, and drummers Max Roach and Art Blakey. So Ornithology is a jazz standard written by Charlie Parker and trumpeter Benny Harris. Its title is in reference to Parker's nickname. He was called Bird. And so ornithology is the study of birds. So Charlie Parker Septet made the first recording of the tune in 1946. It's what is known as a contrafact, this was something new to me when I was researching all this, which is a newly created melody written over chord changes of a pre-existing song. In this case, ornithology, the changes go with How High the Moon, which we played here in the past. It remains one of the most popular and frequently performed bebop tunes. And it will feature Jason Bridges on alto sax, and both Joseph Estes and Rourke Gearing on trumpet in the back.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take this moment to introduce the saxophone section since they have such a prominent part here. We've got Jason Bridges on alto. Woo! Richard Beasley on alto. David Brown, tenor. David Hitler on tenor. And Justin Novak on the baritone. Next part era, I guess you could say, is the cool jazz era. It resulted from the desire of musicians to innovate and to provide an alternative to the complexities of bebop. Intended for the concert hall rather than the dance hall, cool is characterized by lyrical, melodic shapes, softer tonal colors, sparse harmonies, and rhythmic restraint, quite the opposite of what you just heard. Cool jazz ensembles generally consisted of 3 to 8 players and often include unexpected instruments such as flute, French horn, oboe, cello, flugelhorn, and vibe. As can be heard in recordings by Mr. Cool himself, Miles Davis. Some musicians attribute the post-war development of cool jazz to Miles, citing his compilation album Birth of the Cool, which he recorded in 1949 and 1950. The concept of cool extended beyond music, referring to behavior and attitude widely adopted by artists and intellectuals. We have probably a very good example of that in our saxophone section. Would you please stand up? There's Mr. Cool. As you can see, it's an ad. It emphasized arrangements and compositions rather than complex improvised solos. The concept of cool in jazz was conveyed by the calm of subdued, soft, or light tonal qualities. Musicians played with little or no vibrato, and they favored the middle register of the instrument, unlike bebop musicians who really exploited the full range of their individual instruments. They no longer played in 4/4 and 2/4 time meters, but rather than in more different ones like 3/4, 5/4, even 9/4, that became very common. Some composers of the cool era adopted classical European forms as well in the way that they put their music together, such as rondos and even fugues. We're going to do 2 tunes from the cool style jazz. The first one we'll do is Take 5, which was composed by Paul Desmond and originally recorded in 1959 by the Dave Brubeck Quartet for their album Time Out.
Written in 5/4 time, the composition is built around a distinctive blues scale melody and a recurring 2-chord vamp. You'll hear it in the very opening. It goes about 8 bars, and then the tune starts. The track emerged after their drummer, Joe Morello, challenged Desmond to compose a piece in 5/4. Brubeck arranged Desmond's melodies around Morello's rhythmic ideas, and work was created. Its title refers to quintuple meter, 5, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what a measure would be, but also the term taking a short break, take 5. Frequently covered by artists across the genres, Take 5 has been inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and is widely regarded as one of the greatest jazz standards ever recorded. Jason Bridges and Joseph Estes have the melody at the intro, after the intro, I should say. And then Jason and Tyler Collins on the trombone, and Joseph Lindsay over here on the guitar will then do some improvisation over the shows. Take 5. No, stay. Ongoing joke. introduce you to
Oh, I do that purposely.
Tyler Collins. Woo! Ryan Williams. Also, all right, our second Hulu jazz piece is My Funny Valentine. It's a show. It's from the show, a 1937 Rodgers and Hart musical, Days in Arms. The song became a popular jazz standard, appearing on over 1,300 albums, performed by over 600 artists. One of those artists was Chet Baker, for whom it became a signature song. So please welcome Tyler Collins, who will be our vocal soloist. Alan is in this group. We're going to be heading into the Latin now, so I think it's very appropriate to introduce our rhythm section. Joseph Lindsay on guitar. Steve Warner on bass. Warren Jordan on bass. William Stanley on set. Russell Day, set. David Stewart on piano. Ensemble this year. And then Mr. Tyler Kemp on piano. Knox Strabeck on sets and vibe and piano. And Noah Malkin on vibes. Latin jazz, also known as Afro-Cuban jazz, is characterized by its fusion of jazz improvisation and complex Latin rhythms. This genre developed as jazz gained popularity in New Orleans, where it began to blend with the musical traditions, I should say, brought by Cuban immigrants. As a result, Latin jazz incorporates strong wind playing alongside a steady rhythm, creating a very unique sound. The genre saw significant evolution, particularly in the 1940s, when renowned bebop trumpet player Dizzy Gillespie collaborated with Cuban percussionist Cano Pozo, merging bebop's improvisational style with Latin dance music syncopated beats. Over the decades, Latin jazz continued to grow, incorporating new percussion instruments like bongos and timbales, enriching its musical palette. We're going to do two pieces, Mambo No. 5 and Besame Mucho, that are in that style, but very different in approach. I think you'll hear a pretty big difference. Mambo No. 5, energetic, strong, and then Besame Mucho, much more relaxed. Mambo No. 5 was an instrumental mambo and jazz dance song originally composed and recorded by the Cuban musician Damaso Perez Prado in 1949. The version we're playing, though, comes from German singer Lou Bega, who basically stole the soundtrack from the original and then added words to it and recorded it for his 1999 debut album, A Little Bit of Mambo. Taking improvised solos for this piece are Joseph Estes, Jason Bridges, and Tyler Collins.
Thank you.
You didn't stand. I was the only one standing. You were the only. I was the only one standing. No, like at the applause.
Bolero, 1932, by Mexican songwriter Consuelo Velez. Yes, Velez. One of the most important songs in the history of Latin music. It became one of the most popular standards in the 20th century, as well as a jazz standard. And according to Velázquez, she wrote this song even though she had never been kissed. To that point, because kissing, as she had heard, was considered a sin. Our soloist in the open section here will be A.J. Hibbler on the tenor, Timmy Leach on trumpet, Tyler Collins on trombone, and Rourke Guerin on the trumpet. That's a neutral. So, trumpets. Roar hearing.
I bought a hat just for this. I always put it in my hat. Free jazz, where we're up to now, also known as free form jazz. It's an avant-garde or experimental approach to jazz improvisation that developed in the late 1950s and early 1960s, when musicians attempted to change or break down jazz conventions such as regular tempos, tones, and chord changes. Musicians during this period believed that the bebop and modal jazz that had been played before them was too limited and became preoccupied with creating something new. Our term free jazz comes from the saxophonist Ornette Coleman's 1960 recording called Free Jazz, a Collective Improvisation. Europeans tend to favor the term free improvisation. Others have used modern jazz, creative jazz, and art music. The ambiguity of free jazz presents problems to define it. Also, it's usually played by small groups or individuals, although free jazz big bands have existed. Although musicians and critics claim it is innovative and forward-looking, it draws on early styles of jazz and has been described as an attempt to return to primitive, often religious roots. That's somebody that needs to spend more time on the beach, I think. Porcupine Hat, Goodbye Porcupine Hat, is considered to be a good example of free jazz. Composed by bassist Charles Mingus, was originally recorded by his sextet in 1959 and released on his album Mingus, one of my favorite titles. It's one of his best-known compositions. Goodbye Porcupine Hat became a jazz standard, being recorded by many other jazz artists. Mingus wrote that it's an elegy for saxophonist Lester Young, who had died 2 months prior to the recording session and who was known for wearing one of these, porcupine hat. Jazz fusion, also known as jazz rock fusion, or simply fusion. Wait, I'm moving on. Sorry. Getting back to Goodbye Porcupine Hat. Lost my head when I left. My hat. The open melody will be played by Jason and Mark, and Jason will then play a little improvised sing-along with Hannah Rushing back there on the trumpet. And both of them will be adding some solos into this. So here is Goodbye Porcupine Hat. Forgot about
Two, three, four. For jazz fusion, also known as jazz rock, jazz rock fusion, or simply fusion. Developed in the late 1960s when musicians combined jazz harmony improvisation with rock music and funk, rhythm and blues. Instruments that were popular in rock began to be used by jazz musicians, particularly those who had grown up listening to rock and roll. A jazz fusion band is less likely to use acoustic piano and double bass, and more likely to use electric guitars, electric pianos, organs, synthesizers, and electric bass. Birdland was recorded by the band Weather Report as a tribute to the Birdland nightclub in New York City. The track on the band's 1977 album, Heavy Weather, and Birdland nightclub was operated on Broadway in New York City from 1949 to 1965 and hosted many great jazz musicians of that era, like Count Basie, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Miles Davis. Here is Birdland. The track actually took an original arrangement that someone had, I think it's in the program there, but we reworked it. Actually spent a good bit of time reworking it. So it's as close to the actual album as we could get. Another interesting sidelight on it, that particular tune, Birdland, on that album, they did it in one take. example of fusion jazz return to always forever by the guitarist Pat Metheny. first released in 1992 is a cut from his album Secret Story. The album won the Grammy Award for Best Contemporary Jazz Album in 1993. It was one of his most ambitious studio ventures, integrating elements of jazz, rock, and world music. Joseph Lindsay is the featured guitarist. Pat. it avoids the improvisational risk-taking, emphasizing melodic form. Basically a combination of jazz with easy listening pop music and light rhythm and blues. Many devout jazz fans dismiss smooth jazz for its commercial sound and seeming abandonment of the principles that jazz music was built on, namely improvisation, experimentation, and creative freedom. Chase the Clouds Away is the 10th album by Chuck Mangione. The song by the same name was used in the 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal, Canada. I've told this story before. You guys should have. No. I knew Chuck Mangione.
All right, we get it.
Anyway, contemporary jazz describes a diverse array of new jazz music. This term encompasses two main subgenres, modern jazz and smooth jazz. There's a resurgence of big band music during the late 1990s, and one of the bands out of this was called the Big Fat Band, PHAT. It was an 18-piece jazz orchestra led by Gordon Goodwin, and he led that group. He just passed away last year. I hadn't even heard about it. It combines the big band swing era of the 1930s and 40s with contemporary music such as funk, jazz, fusion. Since its origin, the Big Fat Band has received several Grammy Awards and many Grammy nominations. We'll close with our concert with a tune, High Maintenance, which comes from their XXL album. And I'd like to thank you all for coming and being around to hear the history of jazz. It's something I wanted to do for a long time. I'll never do it again. It was a lot more work than I thought, trying to come up with pieces and all that stuff. But I think in the long run, it was definitely worth it. I enjoyed every minute of it. I hope the students have enjoyed their walk through this year from the earliest origins of jazz to contemporary. So again, thank you so much for coming, and we'll finish with High Maintenance. One, two, stop it. Yeah,
Woo!
that's what you did have done.
They're back.
Move back way. We will need to have rehearsal Thursday. I'll give you the following Thursday before Easter off. Okay, so we will rehearse tomorrow on Thursday, and it'll be the stuff from last semester.
Are we breaking the set tonight?
No, tomorrow.
Okay.
Nice.
Woo! That's a wrap, everybody.